What if we never die? Not because the body lives forever, but because the mind stretches the final moment of death into an eternity. Consider the physics of a black hole. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, as an object approaches the event horizon of a black hole, the point beyond which nothing can escape, time appears to slow down from the perspective of an outside observer. From the object's own perspective, it would seem to pass through the event horizon quickly. But to someone watching from a distance, the object would appear frozen at the edge of the event horizon, never quite falling in. Time, at least from the outside, would appear to stretch out infinitely. Now apply that concept to the human brain at the moment of death. If death involves the collapse of neural activity, and if time is subjective, experienced differently depending on the observer, then the final moments of brain activity could feel subjectively endless. From the perspective of an outside observer, death might happen in seconds. But within the mind, those final neural signals could stretch into a vast, seemingly infinite experience. Neuroscience already shows us that the brain does not experience time linearly. Under stress or altered states of consciousness, time can feel distorted. When you're in a car crash, for instance, the mind can process events so rapidly that it feels like everything slows down. Athletes often describe entering a state of flow where time seems to dissolve. This is because the brain doesn't track time objectively. It creates an internal model of time based on neural processing. If the brain's activity spikes at the moment of death, this final burst of activity could create the perception of an entire lifetime, even if it only lasts a few seconds biologically. Studies on near-death experiences give us a glimpse into how this might work. People who have been clinically dead for minutes have reported experiencing entire journeys, walking through tunnels of light, meeting deceased loved ones, even reliving their lives in vivid detail. From a scientific perspective, these experiences are often explained as the brain's response to the dying process. A flood of chemicals like DMT and endorphins creating hallucinations. But if the brain is capable of generating entire realities in the span of a few minutes, then who's to say that this process doesn't stretch infinitely at the point of death? The key lies in the relativity of time itself. If time slows down as the brain's activity collapses, the final moments of consciousness could feel like they go on forever. Imagine standing at the edge of a black hole, where time for you feels normal, but from the outside, you appear frozen. Death could work the same way. From the perspective of those around you, you might die in seconds. But from the perspective of the mind, those seconds could stretch into what feels like an eternity. Think of a dream. In a 10-minute nap, you might experience what feels like hours of dream time. This is because the brain's internal processing speed is not bound to the external clock. It can condense or expand time depending on its state. At the point of death, when the brain's activity is pushed to its limit, it could enter a state where it processes an enormous volume of sensory and memory data in a short burst. What feels like seconds to those witnessing the death could be experienced internally as a lifetime or longer. This raises profound questions about identity and existence. If your sense of self is simply the product of brain activity, then death is not necessarily an end. It's a transition into a different state of experience. The body may die, but the mind could enter a state of timeless awareness, where it continually reconstructs reality using memory, perception and imagination. Since time within the mind would no longer be anchored to biological or environmental rhythms, it could stretch infinitely. The concept also challenges our understanding of the afterlife. What if heaven or hell are not places you go to after death, but states the mind creates as it processes its final moments? If the brain's last activity is shaped by memory, emotion, and belief, then the afterlife might be a projection of your deepest psychological states. A person at peace might experience an eternity of calm and bliss. A person consumed by fear or guilt might spiral into a self-created nightmare. The mind's final state could become its permanent reality. This also means that the concept of death as an end may be flawed. From the perspective of those left behind, you might have died in a matter of minutes. But from your own perspective, the mind could be expanding those final minutes into a boundless, subjective eternity. Just like the object at the event horizon of a black hole, you may never truly reach the moment of death. Time may simply slow down to the point where it becomes functionally infinite. This would mean that life, as we experience it now, could itself be part of that process. If time is truly relative, and if perception is shaped entirely by the brain's internal activity, then it's possible that we're already inside that final moment. What we experience as a lifetime could be the mind playing out its final act, an eternal unfolding created in the space of a few dying seconds. The idea that we are alive could be nothing more than the mind's attempt to make sense of the timeless state it has already entered. If that's true, then death may not be the end of consciousness. It may be the moment where consciousness becomes unbound from linear time altogether. We may already be dead, but from the mind's perspective, the story is just beginning.